line reads, as you can see, there must be a God. Professor Hoyle has put his thoughts on the subject in a book called The Intelligent Universe, published in 1983 by Holt, Reinhardt, and Winston. He wrote this, number 27. We owe our existence to another intelligence which, as a part of the deliberate plan, created a structure for life that is far too complex to have risen by random processes. He then added this comment, number 28. Life cannot have arisen by chance. Others have made the chances of life occurring by chance a lot higher. Dr. Harold Morowitz, a professor of molecular chemistry at Yale University, concluded, number 29, that the odds of life creating itself are 1 in 10, followed by 1 billion zeros. Edward Conklin, a biologist, put it another way. He wrote this, number 30, the probability of life originating from accident is comparable to the probability of the unabridged dictionary resulting from an explosion in a print shop. Albert, and I'll pronounce this the best I can, Albert Zent-Gyorky, something like that, a Nobel Prize winner, has said that the origin of complex traits by random mutation has the probability of 0. But even though the laws, notice the laws of probability prove that chance cannot explain the origin of life on the earth, there are still evolutionists who believe that chance caused life to begin. The evolutionists believe that animals have been evolving for billions of years, leaving behind fossilized evidences of their existence in layers of rock and dirt. The critics of evolution are quick to point out that the fossil record does not support the evolutionary theory at all, but that it poses real problems to the evolutionists. The evolutionists believe that animal life has gone through a series of changes as it evolved to a higher form of life. If this position was true, then among the 250,000 fossil species so far found by generations of scientists, there should be tens of thousands of intermediate forms, fossils, such as fish with fins halfway evolving to legs, or fish with scales showing changes to feathers. But there is a real problem. There are no intermediate fossils to be found, not one. Evolutionists have carefully constructed geologic time columns that show the oldest layers of the earth with their old fossils on the bottom and the earliest rocks on the top with their early fossils. This is one such geologic column. The layer of rock at the bottom is called the Cambrian and is supposed to show fossil evidence of abundant marine life and the first primates. The next layer is called the Ordovician. I don't know how to pronounce that, Ordovician, and is supposed to show the fossils of the first fish. If this view of evolution is correct, we should find fossils of animals halfway between the two types of life. But science has not found one, not one. The geologic column also poses another problem. The evolutionists claim that only early forms of life should be fossilized in the bottom layers of rock. But scientists the world over have found extremely complex forms of life in that layer. A textbook entitled Science of Evolution pointed the problem out with these words, number 31. During the Cambrian layer, and that's the lowest layer on the bottom, there suddenly appeared representatives of nearly all the major groups of animals now recognized. It was as if a giant curtain had been lifted to reveal a world teeming with life in fantastic diversity. This is an article that appeared in a local newspaper in 1980. The headline reads, "Researchers find oldest fossils surprisingly complex." But it shows the problem in the logic of the evolutionists. Instead of concluding that at the very beginning of life, complex life existed, the evolutionists just add years to their estimate of the Earth's age. In this case, they arbitrarily added 400 million years to the age of the Earth. Don't forget, this is called science. There was no geologic evidence to support the conclusion. They couldn't explain the contradiction in the facts, so they just added years to explain the problem. The very next problem that the geologic column poses for the evolutionists is that there is no physical evidence that the column even exists. This is the geologic column we looked at a few minutes ago. It shows a series of layers on the earth, the youngest on the top and the oldest, as I said, on the bottom. But there's a real problem. 77% of the Earth's surface has 7 or more of the strata missing completely. 94% of the Earth's surface has at least 3 of the systems missing, and 99.6% has at least 1 system missing. Now, I live in Arizona, the home of the Grand Canyon. Only 5 of the 12 major rock layers are exposed by the Colorado River. Only 5 of the 12 major rock layers have been exposed by the Colorado River. All the others are not present in any form. Something is wrong. That means that the entire geologic column, composed of complete strata systems, exists only in the diagrams drawn by geologists and shown in textbooks all over the United States. Another problem for those who believe in the geologic column is the existence of what is called polystratic fossils. This is a drawing of a tree trunk that passes through many different rock layers. Some of these tree trunks are 50 feet high. The evolutionists would have us believe that the tree stood there for millions of years as the sand and the mud piled up slowly around it. That is not logical. But that is what they would have us believe. About 10 years ago, one of the largest fossils ever found and discovered was a baleen whale, and it was about 80 feet long, and it was standing on its tail. We are asked to believe that the dead whale stood up on its tail for thousands of years while it was gradually buried in the mud. Please do not think. Please do not question. Evolution has no answer for the polystratic fossil. They exist, and they cannot explain it, and we're not to question it. But the dead whale posed another problem that the evolutionists cannot answer. Here, how is a fossil made? This is a picture of a future fossil that appeared in our local newspaper a few years ago. These are the remains of a cow that apparently died several years before the picture was made. By the time these bones will be covered up by accumulating dirt and mud, there will be nothing left. Yet some fossils are intact with signs of feathers, fins, and internal organs. How could that be possible? If the dead animal is allowed to remain out in the open, waiting for millions of years until it is covered up, nothing will survive. Fish fossils are the best example of this. When fish die, they generally float to the top of the body of water unless they are eaten before. If it drops to the bottom, it would be scavenged by other fish, or it would decay. It would decay before it was covered up. But please do not question how that could occur. We are not supposed to question the evolutionists. But perhaps the major problem for the evolutionists is the fact that whole parts of the world are upside down. The old rocks are under the young rocks. This drawing shows the yellow young rocks under the blue old rocks. How can that be? Let me give you a real-life example. This is a picture of a part of the Lewis Overthrust of Montana. The entire area is about 350 miles wide, 30 or 40 miles wide at its width, and about 6 miles thick. The problem is that the black rocks on the top of the mountain are Precambrian, and the light-colored layer is Cretaceous. We'll pick that up and continue our discussion of evolution at our next discussion, our next meeting, our next lecture. I invite you to tune in again next week as we continue to explore the secrets of history. Thank you so very, very much.